Acquiring good defense to protect a country takes time in that process. It requires making choices, taking risks, and a large amount of money. The U.S. military defense budget and spending most of the time has been seen as the highest among other countries. As college students who are going to get jobs later in the future, we must realize that we also are going to be paying taxes. What does taxes have to do? Well, we students are going to have to realize where our tax money is going to put into, whether it's funding defense, social security, Medicare, and etc. But considering where the money goes, we students who are going to be paying taxes in the future should reconsider our tax money being funded in the military defense. The Department of Defense federal budget should be reduced. There has been many research and opinions by experts who have taken upon this topic about U.S. military budget that has to be reduced, such as Lawrence J. Curves, published by American Progress on April 29, 2019, an assistant secretary of defense in the Reagan administration, served 4 years on active duty as naval flight officer and retired from the Naval Reserve with rank of captain. In the following, I will be presenting the problems about the U.S. military defense budget. Secondly, be discussing the causes of why our military budget is being increased. Lastly, presenting solution on how to reduce the military budget. With that said, I will start to discuss the problems about the Department of Defense budget. The problem of the U.S. defense budget is about how the budget amount is being increased over the years, whereas it can affect U.S. citizens who are paying taxes to fund the U.S. defense budget. According to the Lawrence J. Curve by the publication American Progress on April 29, 2019, he stated, whatever amount the United States or any nation decides to spend on defense, it must tax its citizens significantly enough so that increasing the size of the defense budget does not increase the national deficit. And what Curb had mentioned brought up the future problem about how it can affect citizens meaningfully by taxing more on them due to the fact that our U.S. defense budget increasing its amount by not trying to increase the national deficit. Assuming Kerr's viewpoint, he is trying to illustrate that no matter the spending on defense is for the United States. The citizens are the one who will significantly be taxed on due to the spending on defense that the United States is putting into. There also has been statistics that have shown that the Department of Defense budget is going over government spending. According to Michael E. O'Hyland, a researcher in foreign policy published by Brookings on June 10, 2020, he stated that the Trump administration defense spending for 2020 is to be 15% overall of federal government spending and 3.2% of GDP. O'Hyland explained that U.S. nation defense budget does not capture all major government activities, but do in fact influence American security, such as the Department of Defense, the intelligence community, the Department of Energy nuclear weapon related activities. The problem that O'Hyland is trying to illustrate is that the U.S. defense budget is not covering all major government activities, whereas it should be included to the defense budget, where he pointed the Department of Veterans Affairs, diplomacy, nor foreign assistance, and etc. are not included in the U.S. national defense budget. Looking upon the problems of increasing the military budget, I'll be discussing the causes of why the military budget has been rising. According to Michael E. O'Hyland, a researcher in foreign policy published by Brookings on June 10, 2020, he stated that one of the reasons the defense budget is so large is that we expect our military to be able to do many things at once. What does he mean by the military being able to do many things at once? Well, according to his research on the 2018 Nation Defense Strategy, O'Hyland stated what the military are trying to handle at the moment. Maintain a strong nuclear deterrent, protect the homeland from attack by missiles, aircraft, terrorists, and others, defeat China or Russia in conventional combat, and deter North Korea while doing so, and sustain momentum in the war on terror. But what O'Hyland had listed, these issues are to why the military defense budget is large, and due to the fact that the U.S. is dealing with what O'Hyland calls ready for a possible two-front war against the likes of Iraq and North Korea. Another source that results the U.S. defense budget to keep increasing are Defense Department bases. According to Rebecca Cahill, published by The Hill on April 15, 2016, stated, the last round of base realignment and closure was in 2005. Lawmakers have repeatedly shot down requests for another round because closures can have damaging economic effects on communities that have built up around military bases, making the prospect policy unpopular. The defense of department bases being one of the causes to why the budget is being high is due to the fact that Cahill has said that these bases are being kept open because of the economic effects on communities that rely on these military bases. Furthermore, those who have kept these bases from being closed from economic effects are the lawmakers, who have repeatedly denied requests for another round of base closing since the last round of base realignment closure were back in 2005. Concerning one of the many causes to why the defense budget is increasing, there are thought-out plans from experts that can reduce the defense budget. With having a defense budget being important to certain situations, we have to realize that most of the money could also be used on something that is not necessary. According to Lawrence J. Kerb and Meteoric Leo, published by American Progress on April 3, 2017, they both stated the Trump administration and Congress need to authorize another round of base closing through a base realignment and closure, or BRAC, the commission. Out of the other plans that they have mentioned within the article, I assume this plan they brought up is important to many of the solutions on how to reduce the military defense budget from having to increase over the years. In their own words, they mentioned that this can stop the Pentagon from having to waste billions of dollars each year. In addition, they have found that the Pentagon had 30% excess base capacity that involved wasting billions of dollars, where the billions of dollars being wasted can be put into other essential areas. Another plan that was presented by Korb, in which in his idea was the Pentagon to make a substantial reduction in the nuclear modernization program, such as two projects he mentioned that can reduce Department of Defense budget. According to Lawrence J. Kerb, published by American Progress on April 29, 2019, he noted from former Secretary of Defense William Perry that he mentions a new nuclear cruise missile that experts such as former Secretary of Defense William Perry is not needed because the stealthy V-21 bomber will be able to penetrate even the most sophisticated air defense. The new nuclear missile that Perry mentioned is a project from the long-range standoff weapon, whereas Kerr mentions of canceling this project to make substantial reductions. In addition, Kerr adds on to noting Rep. Smith notes, funding new low-yield weapons would only draw us further into unnecessary nuclear arm races and increase the risk of miscalculation. From Rep. Smith notes, Kerr is trying to present the idea of funding new low-yield weapons could move to a nuclear arm race, making it unnecessary things to concerning that which can increase the risk of miscalculation, meaning that the Pentagon could possibly be developing unnecessary low weapons that will only be increasing more of a chance of being involved in a nuclear arm race, whereas funding could be wasted for unessential weapons. Now that I have presented a solution to reducing Department of Defense budget, I will start to conclude on this topic. Earlier in the beginning, I have talked about the problems with the United States defense budget. Next, I presented an idea of why the defense budget increasing each year. I discussed some solutions that can be put into plan that can possibly reduce the U.S. defense budget. My policy proposition was the idea of the Department of Defense federal budget should be reducing. In the end, I hope that most of us can grasp the situation that is happening about the defense budget that can possibly affect us all later on in the future. Thank you.